The Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report with Dom and Charles.
Charles, you poor thing. This is the biggest day in the history of Sydney, and you're in Adelaide. Today is the day that Taylor Swift plays her first gig for the Eras Tour at Accor Stadium in Homebush. Where are you? Hundreds of kilometres away.
I'm in what is colloquially known as fucking Adelaide.
A place which Taylor snubbed, as we discussed in the podcast a few days ago. She's not bothering to go anywhere near Adelaide on this tour.
No. Well, what is there in Adelaide? Certainly no asbestos.
That's true.
There's a killer on the loose again. They've just released the Snowtown killer who did all the
she knew,
acid
didn't
thing.
she must have got the heads up about
Get
that.
a tip off. Yeah, see, when you're as powerful as Taylor Swift, you get the heads up on judicial decisions like that.
And look, everyone's going to the gig tonight. Albo is going to the gig tonight. He refused to give his tickets to a Swiftie on radio this week, and he said, I'm a Swiftie myself. So nauseating pictures of Albo and Taylor are incoming later in the day. Let's talk about this massive day and all the things you're missing after this. So, yeah, there's going to be some point during the concert, I'm sure. Like, he's not going to a 3.5-hour gig without any political upside for him. That's basically, with all due respect, we know Anthony Albanese loves music, but going to 3.5 hours of Taylor Swift when you're a fan of 80s sort of punk acts, he's not enduring that if he's without potential upside.
But I think his presence there will just skyrocket him in the polls anyway. Like, he doesn't need a photo op. Like, if he's just standing in the crowd, that's it. That's the election.
But
it's
is
over.
it, though?
I'm willing to call
Is it? Or is he infuriating all the people who want to go but can't be there? Because it's very hard to get tickets. I've been trying for days.
Albo would have been hanging out on the website all day.
He would have been on ticketek looking for a second chance draw like me.
Clicking refresh at the right time. That's how he got his ticket. He wouldn't have skipped the queue or got some sort of,
VIP
special payola. Yeah.
It is quite nuts, right? Like Ticketek, I assume the system actually works, but the way that it works, and I know you know this, Charles, because you've been trying to get tickets, I'm sure, even though you're in Adelaide. You got to go onto the Ticketek marketplace for the second chance draw, and basically once you log in via one of those capture things where you type in, the letters and numbers, you get this progress bar that just says, don't refresh, don't move. And it slowly crawls along. There's no numbers. It's just a progress bar crawling along. It takes hours and hours and hours. And you've got to check it all the time because once it gets through, you have 10 minutes and that's it. Then it logs you out. So I have managed to get through once out of about 20 tries. And the other night I was up at 1 a.m. and I actually got through and it said 2 tickets for Friday's gig. And it's exactly where I wanted to be, right at the very back in the cheap seats. I clicked on them, clicked buy, and it said another fan is transacting these tickets. So it's just like the World Cup. You got all the trouble to get through, and then it says we've got tickets, and then by the time you click yes, it's like, no, they're gone. So it's impossible, basically. I wouldn't waste your time, everyone. I would not. Don't waste your time on the second-hand marketplace. That way I've got more chance.
That's why you're on the site now. I can see.
Yeah, I've got it right here. But it's the progress bars. You can see the progress bar? It's just slowly crawling along.
No.
You've no idea whether it will take 4 or 6 or 8 hours. And you've got to be there.
Shake it off. You got to shake it off, Dom.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to shake it off with Taylor, and there's no ticket. But yes, look, last time I mentioned this, someone came forward and gave me a ticket to the Matildas semi-final, which was amazing. So who knows what will come out there. But Sydney has gone nuts. I mean, people have been stalking her left, right, and centre. Intern Pete from Kyle and Jackie O has been meeting every private jet, and she went to dinner in Surrey Hills, Charles. Spent $600 on dinner with a friend at Pellegrino 2000, and apparently you can't get a booking there anymore. She's ruined it. She's ruined Surrey Hills restaurants.
Yes. But you know why? Like what I find interesting, Dom, is that she was in Melbourne for 3 days or something.
Something like that. She did 3 gigs at the MCG.
Basically, she ends the gig. Yep. Within 8 hours, she's out of Melbourne.
Yeah, absolutely out of Melbourne.
Straight to Sydney. And she's spending the whole of the week just relaxing in Sydney.
It does seem as though she was out of here pretty quickly, doesn't it?
And her boyfriend, Tracy, whatever his name is.
Travis Kelce. He's here.
Travis Kelce.
Can I just tell you, by the way, I can get a table tonight at Pellegrino 2000. It's fine. She has no influence at all, clearly.
But really? Travis, you can?
Yeah. We'll go.
So Travis
we should go there when you get back.
Melbourne. He skips Melbourne, comes to Sydney.
This is the big thing. So his private jet, his PJs just come in landed at, I assume intern Pete was there to try and, film some awkward selfie, ruin it. But he's come out for Sydney. That's right. Taylor was at the zoo yesterday inspecting some of the local animals. You can't do that in Melbourne, or at least you wouldn't want to. So Travis has come here. I think she's going to move here, Charles. I think she's going to become a Sydney-sider.
I'm pretty sure, actually, the problem is she arrived here and she looked at Sydney property prices and she went, oh no, actually I can't afford to move to Sydney.
Well, is there a tax advantage?
She started out in the eastern suburbs and, by lunchtime she was looking in the inner west going, maybe I can afford like a 2-bedroom in Dulwich Hill.
She's thinking maybe Parramatta now. Blue Mountains isn't bad.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, the most Australian thing to do, Taylor, if you do want to move here, I'm sure you're listening to this podcast, the thing that you want to do to be quintessentially Australian is don't take all the millions of dollars you've made here back to America, buy some properties and become a landlord and negative gear them all. That's what you want to do.
Oh, yes.
She could easily just add to the huge rental crisis. Can you imagine if her fans in their 20s found out that she'd bought all these houses?
She was a landlord. Imagine a landlord being Taylor Swift. Yeah. There's mold in my bathroom.
Travis, get on down there.
I reckon, because this tour's yielding $1 billion, isn't it? It's the first ever $1 billion tour.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you do the maths on how much she's making just from these gigs in Australia, it's absolutely massive.
So she could afford like 3 or 4 Sydney apartments.
One bedders, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one bed, yeah.
Apparently she's staying at Crown as well. So the theory is Crown's one of the sponsors of the tour. And the theory is that she stayed in the sort of penthouse mansion-y thing at Crown Towers in Melbourne and then here in Sydney at the Crown Casino, which might lose its licence while she's staying there, by the way.
Oh, really? Why? What's happened?
Money laundering, like at both Sydney casinos. It's the same old story.
Standard.
It's the standard thing. Like, it's just the slow wheels of justice. Apparently, they only just opened for gambling at Crown and Sydney, and they're going to lose their licence.
But isn't the point that... No, it's open for money laundering, hasn't it?
Money laundering,
Oh,
that's
and
right.
gambling. Oh, you can gamble there as well.
Actually, maybe that's why she's staying there. Because it's a $38,000 a night penthouse that they think she's in.
Yes, because if you make $1 billion, you need some way to wash it clean.
That's right. She can't, otherwise she'll have to pay tax on it.
Yes.
That's why she's staying at Crown. You wouldn't say that because it's nice. It's ostentatious.
Wouldn't it be terrible if she, leaves on Sunday morning and she's lost all her money on the roulette wheel at Crown?
That's very funny. Well, Travis would probably go, wouldn't he? Travis would go and have a flutter at Crown Casino. We should go down there and see if we can find him. It is, isn't it VIPs only at Crown Sydney? So I don't know how we'd get in.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's all right. Just say we're from the Chaser Report podcast, and
it closes every door. So no, the place is going crazy.
So what does she think? What does Taylor think of the asbestos? Is that because isn't Sydney? My understanding, I've got friends in Melbourne who said, "What are you talking about? What asbestos?" Apparently there is no coverage of the asbestos outside of Sydney, which is sort of understandable.
Well,
it's a very
it did
local
make the New York
story.
Times actually, but
right.
I would have thought Melbourne would have been absolutely loving it. Like the brief moment of being able to say, "I know you've got better parks and beaches than us, but at the moment there's tape everywhere." It is quite extraordinary. After we did our podcast the other day, I walked down to the local shopping centre in the suburb where we live, Tram Sheds, and it's
you got to go by the street.
It's extraordinary. The entire park is fenced off. I posted pictures on my Instagram. There is crime scene tape everywhere in that park. It's absolutely amazing.
Yes, I think this should be a little bit like. I think this is Sydney's Chernobyl moment. I think what we should do is just let the asbestos be there. We sort of I think humans are going to need to leave Sydney.
Have an exclusion zone.
And we'll just let nature regrow, but it'll be in a sort of asbestosis.
Yeah, let the asbestos
sort of nature. It'll
sort of develop and grow, and little signs of asbestos bacteria will come out, and then before long there'll be asbestos animals.
Exactly.
And that's a great idea. It could be like the Erie abandoned theme park in Chernobyl, only a giant city, and Taylor would be stuck here
giant
forever,
city
in the middle of it all.
Able
to leave.
Maybe there should be a dome. We do a fence. We do an asbestos fence around
just
Sydney.
Be like one little bit of tape.
A little tape around Sydney. Nobody can go in or out.
I think it's time to abandon Sydney. It's too expensive to live in anyway. I think we've just got to pull the pin.
Yeah.
Once Taylor's gone, in all sincerity, I think that it's all downhill from that. We're currently the most important city in the world with Taylor here. Once she leaves, game over. She's going to Singapore.
That's it. It's over. And presume because Sydney always likes being the Olympic city. I reckon that's the last great highlight. we've got the Olympics, and then we've got Taylor Swift. Nothing else happened between 2000 and
nothing else
2024. We shut it down. We go, that was a good run. And then everyone can move to Brisbane, which is having the Olympics in 2032.
I enjoyed Brisbane the other week.
And we can ruin Brisbane with our
I'm going to make
attention.
a big call about Taylor. I'm going to make it after these ads.
The Chaser Report. Less news, more often.
I'm just copying you, Charles. I'm making the big call. But I'm going to put it out there. Travis, he's flown all the way. He was in Vegas playing golf. I think he's going to pop the question.
He's going to pop the question.
While he's in Sydney, the most romantic city in the world that isn't, Paris or Venice or something.
Yes.
The most romantic city in the Southern Hemisphere, perhaps.
Yeah. And he's going to do it at Crown Casino.
Yeah, on the roulette table. Darling, I just made a couple of $100,000. Or maybe he'll go to Koala to bring a ring across. Maybe a local money laundering figure will be involved.
Yeah.
Here's a cushion stuffed with cash. A brown paper bag. He hands over a brown paper bag with the laundered earnings from her concert, and there's a ring in there as well.
See, because this is the thing.
I think it's good.
I like your prediction. I think you heard it here first. Because it did strike me that Albo recently got engaged.
On Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Originally.
But he would have known that he was going to the Taylor
Totally.
Swift concert. Presumably he's going with Jodie Halen. So why wouldn't he? Surely a better place to propose is a Taylor Swift concert than fucking Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day is very hackneyed, Albo. You could have done better than that. If he'd managed to do it on the Jumbotron, if there'd been like a 5-minute interlude in the middle of the Taylor Swift, like she just sings Lover or something, see, Swiftie, and then it's like, I think the Prime Minister is here, Mr. Albanese, and Jodie, would you do me the honour of becoming, Mrs. Albo? And that would have been the point where you call the election immediately.
Yes, and then the kiss cam would have come up on all the screens, and he would have kissed, and then that's it. And that's the election
in the bag.
in
And
the
then in the
bag.
interest of balance, you'd just have a quick shot of Peter Dutton scowling angrily off in the distance somewhere. They should have cemented it.
Where would Peter Dutton get engaged? Which concert? What musician would?
Well, Albo was asked this on radio actually this week, and said, "I don't think Dutton's a Swiftie. I think he's more into Nickelback or death metal." But that doesn't seem quite right.
Nah,
I think Dutton has such even more than Morrison. Morrison was a fake daggy dad. Dutton's the real daggy dad. I reckon. I reckon like Hall and Oates or some shit.
I reckon it would be those sort of sleep albums that you can get on Spotify. I reckon that sort of
like panpipes,
8 hour,
just something to briefly calm the rage. Just like switch it off, Peter.
Yeah,
it dozes off. He'd probably like I can just imagine like 90s hair metal. Dutton would enjoy. Like he'd go for like
it'd be like
or something.
the uncanny X-Men.
You reckon?
That's what it'd be. Brian
Okay.
Mannix. Yeah.
Could be.
Don't you reckon?
What? But the fact that we don't know is a bit surprising. Like, aren't we supposed to be getting to know the gentler, nicer Peter Dutton?
Would it be? It'll be something because he hates boats. Would it be some sort of?
He wouldn't like
anti-boat?
yacht rock. He would not go for yacht rock. That's sad. Yacht rock's amazing. 70s like sincere pop. Well, Charles, I still haven't got tickets. I'm refreshing again. Taylor's people, you just get in touch. Send a DM or something. I'm willing to go.
Yeah. Or just Taylor direct. Like Taylor, you're listening. We know you're listening.
I'll send a message now on. Should I do Twitter or Instagram?
Oh, I think she wouldn't be Twitter.
No, it's
would
broken,
she?
isn't it?
She'd be like TikTok or
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, she might be on Bumble. I mean, you never know your luck.
Imagine if that's how she met Travis. Just happened to be in Vegas or something. It's like, hey.
Yeah. Hey.
All right,
hey.
I'll post on Instagram and just see if I can be like, hey, I've got a podcast. Can I get a comp?
Yeah. Well, at the very least, get her to come on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I'll invite her on the podcast. P.S. Very open to a ticket. Do you want a ticket?
Nah. Okay, well, have a good weekend. Our gear is from Road. We're part of the Iconoclast Network.